Sedona Ascension Retreats is so excited to introduce to you Alan Steinfeld. Alan is a writer, producer, and speaker in the fields of human potential, metaphysics, conscious evolution, healing, creativity, spiritual awakening, and cosmic intelligences. He informs millions through his website, lectures, YouTube videos, and weekly television program. Thousands visit his website, newrealities.com, each month. For over 20 years, he has brought cutting-edge ideas in science, health, and spirituality to his audiences. He has interviewed over 3,000 of the most influential people in the world. 12 million people have seen his New Realities videos on his YouTube channel, youtube.com/newrealities. Now, Alan has contributed and curated the new UFO book, Making Contact, preparing for the new realities of extraterrestrial existence. This book stands as the most comprehensive clarification to date on the intent and intelligence behind the phenomena. The variety of viewpoints expressed in the volume provide a solid foundation for the preparation of the greatest challenge to ever face humankind, meeting the cosmic others. It is truly my pleasure to present to you my dear friend, Alan Steinfeld.
Let's all give a big warm welcome to my dear friend, Alan Steinfeld.
Wow. Thank you. I think I'll just go home now because that's who I came for, just the applause. Little ego, I'm still working on that, but I think we all are. I mean, we've all come here because this is a magical time and a magical place, and we are transforming the world. Men and women equal, sharing the burdens, the joys, the abundance of the world. I think the Hopis say, a bird can't fly with only one wing. We need both wings. We need both parts of our brains. We need to be fully activated at this moment of transformation as we go from the old ways of being into this new embodiment. So that's why I love this slide. I'm sure you've seen this slide before, right? This guy sticking his head through one level of reality into this whole other field. That's going from 3D to 5D. So that's part of creating the new reality, is by being the new reality. And if you don't create your reality, one will be created for you. So that's like the key, because I love what Mark Twain says here. It's easier to fool the people than to convince them they've been fooled, right? So they're not going to fool us anymore because we are taking our power back. We are taking back who we've always been. So I love this slide because this is who we've always, everything, everywhere, all at once. That's like that movie, right? Well, I think those movies are tapping into the psyche of the fifth dimensional or multi-dimensional consciousness, because you know what? We are everything, everywhere, all at once. This is us. We are sitting in the quantum field, as Joe Dispenza calls it, all the time. And these bodies are just the avatars of this 3D world. But we really are everywhere, every time, all at once. We're everything. Everything you see is you. Every person you see is a reflection of you. So, if someone smiles at you, there's just this instinct to smile back, right? And babies have that instinct, that mirror neuron instinct, when they're 4 hours old. So your mother smiles at you when you're born, and it's just a reflex to smile back. But if your mother or father's a little depressed or whatever, then you reflect that emotion back, and then you think that's who you are, because those early inbred emotions start to be wired into your brain. So you have to then see, okay, what's your base state? What is the ground zero of your being? And you see, what are those innate emotions that are predisposing me to look at the world in a certain way. And as you look at those deeper aspects of the self, you get to see where that coding happened, and you get to recode it. So we're recoding our brains to be everything, everywhere, all at once. And when we know that, then we actually are that. Then the realization of that consciousness, like close your eyes for a second and just feel yourself in that seat, right? You're sitting there, you're in the theater, but expand your awareness out to the walls. And now put that awareness on the top of your head. And now put it on the ceiling. Put your awareness on the ceiling. And keep pushing it out to the walls. And now we're going through the walls. Put your attention on the sky above this building. Do you feel that shift? Way up in the sky, looking down in Sedona. Picture yourself there. Imagine yourself there. Now from that perspective, slowly open your eyes so you're in both places at once. You're above, because that's the power of consciousness, and you're here, so you are just, you could feel a little tingling above your head, because we're floating, all of us, in space. And just, if you just open your eyes a little bit, you will get that multi-dimensional sense of awareness. Now you could find your body again, come back into your body, but you're also always over there. So how many people felt like a little tingling? And did you feel like when we all went up to the ceiling, did you feel like this, like lifting? That is such an amazing multi-dimensional sense when we can feel that. It's like, we'll do one more experiment. Just close your eyes again and just feel yourself in your seat and feel your feet on the ground. You could feel it drop a little bit, right? Now take that awareness and just put it in your heart and just spread that love out to everybody. That's the field. That's the quantum field from that place. You can open your eyes, but you can feel that expansion. It's like this inner sensitivity we actually all carry around all the time. So if you meet someone, you smile at them, you beam them love, and then everything just kind of works out. I mean, these are facilities of consciousness that we can play with all the time. When I teach remote viewing, I taught it the other day, you realize that consciousness is an application. It's not, when I talk to Deepak Chopra, he says, oh, it's all consciousness, it doesn't matter. I interview Deepak sometimes. I say, no, Deepak, what's the application of consciousness? Yeah, it's consciousness, that's spirituality 101. I don't say that to him, but I say, how are we using this consciousness to send and receive and create reality? That's what we're here for. That's fifth dimensional creation, when you can apply consciousness to create the realities that you want. So a little history here. This is the chaos all around us, right? This is what we look out into the sky, but somehow we're here to form a cosmos out of the chaos. And this is a little quote I like by, down how many roads among the stars must we propel ourselves in search of the final secret? The journey is difficult, immense at times, impossible, yet that will not deter us from attempting it. That's why we incarnated here. You know, you're in this infinite space of everywhere all the time, all at once, and yet we chose to be in these bodies because it was a great experiment of consciousness. How can we incarnate, forget everything, and then remember it, you know? And how do we create the realities from that space, and then, like painting a picture, and then you jump into your own painting? It's a lot of fun when you start to remember. it's a little suffering if you're not remembering, you know. So we're here to wake each other up and remember who we are. That's why we're here at this Ascension conference. And when we all start waking up, and we're all just, Ramdas says, we're all just walking each other home. And so when we do that, when we recognize the divine in each of us, and that's something Paul Selig talks about. He talks about awakening the divinity, he channels that. So that's what we're here to do, and we're doing it. I mean, we're all here because we chose to be here at this time, in this body, in that seat. So I've been exploring these realities a lot and realize that, you know, the sacred geometry, so like there's the personal, there's the planetary, and the cosmic realities, and this is what we're all kind of bringing energy in. So we're living in the personal, you have your little personal life, that's great. We're on this planet where we're being impinged by the consciousness of everyone around us, like we've just formed a collective field now. And then there's the cosmic reality where we just went out to with our minds. Actually, I teach remote viewing where we go and take that same feeling of going off planet, and then we visit other civilizations in remote viewing, making contact remote viewing, that's what I call it. So, you know, we're here because we are the cosmos made conscious, and life is the means by which the universe understands itself. A friend of mine said, we're like the fingertips of God, you know, because this moment is new. This moment is like surfing the wave of forever. We are making this moment new. We are making known the unknown. Some people say, oh, it's all been planned. It can be, but each moment is creating itself anew. And we are participants in making known the unknown. So that's one level. So we're talking about multiple levels of reality, right? There's a place where we're the infinite everywhere all at once, and then there's a moment, times, and beings where we're creating it moment by moment. And that's so difficult for people to understand, how we can both have a subjective view and an objective view. But that's what's changing about the way we're structuring reality. It's no longer dualistic. It's no longer me and you, it's me as you, you as me. There's a merging. So this, you see, that's the problem with understanding ETs and UFOs. We're never going to understand the technology until we understand their mind, until we understand how they think. And you know, there is this telepathic, if people, how many people have had a little experience there? A few? Right. There's this two-way street where you don't know where you are, you don't know where you merge, and that's forming this collective consciousness. And when we become less egoic and more collective, that's when the great awakening really comes in place. So this is a reminder here. 1 billion stars go spinning through the night, glittering high above your head, but in you is the presence that will be when all the stars are dead. When they're all burned out, there's the essence that you are right there in that seat. That is forever. Really, you are, all of us are forever. Yes, changes of consciousness happen, take on different bodies, you amplify your molecular structure, but the essence is eternal. I mean, I can't prove that right now, but I just know it. I just feel it. So, no longer, this is from Key 404, 0406 by J.J. Hurtak, who'll be speaking later today. No longer will the dualistic mind directly and indirectly interpret spiritual language and proto-communication in a simplified, linear, planetary level of life and death. So we're moving beyond that duality, too, of life and death, of all the dualities, because that's what fifth dimensional or sixth, seventh is about. 3D is dual. It's me, you, male, female, day, night, you know. But there's that whole transgender movement. I mean, I'm not recommending it, but actually I heard a great transgender joke, not to offend anybody. But Disney is making a, well, maybe, I'll tell it anyway. It's a little, Disney is making a movie, you know, Disney wants to get, about a transgender whale. You know what they're calling it? I hope, don't be offended. It's called Maybe Dick. All right, just a little humor there. I got more jokes, save that, okay? So it's really about changing the chaos into the cosmos, cognition and recognition. You know the difference between recognition and cognition? So this, if no one ever told you what a horse looked like, you would just think that's a little island out there in the sea. But you cognize horses, so you can recognize them. So how do you know anything? By recognizing them. How do you know what you don't know? Well, they come into your field of cognition, and you say, what is that? So it's like you're stunned by the new realities, and then you start to filter out, well, what's that? Or incorporate. What's that like? So if an ET is here and you don't see it, and someone says, oh, I just felt something, you start to understand the innate feelings inside you so you can recognize them. Recognition is how we form the world, so it's understanding eternal structures of being. Then I talk about formation and information. We see the world as images or form, and then we incorporate those forms into us as information. And then I talk about perceptions, conceptions, apprehension versus comprehension. I don't know if I'll get to that today, but this is a description. So humans see this, like you're looking at a tomato. ETs perceive on this level. I'm guessing, you know. I think they do. No, they perceive on that level of reality. So, you know, this is, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to us as it is infinite. That's being everywhere, all at once, all the time. But we've closed ourselves off, and we see the world only through this really narrow perception of the world. And you know why we do that? Because we were trained to do that. We were culturally conditioned to do that. Terence McKenna says culture is not your friend, because it programs you to see through this really small window. But if we didn't get programmed, we'd see everything all the time, all at once, but you know, it's okay to see the world in little details because we need to make a cosmos out of the chaos. If everything was seen all the time, it would be chaotic. So we have to function on both sides of our brain where, yes, we see the floor, we see the chairs, we see the trees, and we have to also be multidimensional everywhere all at once. So it's both things there. And that's William Blake, and that's a painting of the Ancient of Days. This is, this little thing over here. We see perceptions not bounded by organs of perceptions. So we have senses that are beyond the five senses, right? That's what I think. But, here's one of my favorite senses. I kind of did a little demonstration of that before. But this is our evolution from these apes and this guy sitting at a computer, but I don't think so. I think this is where we're going. We're going where humanity is moving into the light. I don't think we really evolved from apes. I think we descended, involution from the cosmos. You know, we are of the stars. Be humble because you're made of the earth. Be noble because you're made of the stars. That's why this human body is so amazing. We are made of the earth. You are walking around in a little animal suit there, and it has the animal, you know, urges, but the God in you, the divinity in you, is to raise that animal up and to become the divine being. That's the possibility that we exist in all the time. We're going into a bigger fishbowl where there's more fish. We've been so isolated, you know, from the rest of the cosmos because, you know, we haven't been very nice to each other, you know. Holocaust and wars and atrocities, and it's still going on. So in order for these beings to really make a difference, to really interchange with us, we have to get over our favorite pastime, which is tribal warfare. That has been humanity. Doesn't matter what country, what continent, what race, religion, it's all been about war, pretty much. I mean, not all. We've built some incredible things, but if we can just get, I mean, it's possible. It's possible. And I love this quote by by H.G. Wells. Civilization and race between education and catastrophe. Let us learn the truth and spread it as far and wide as our circumstances allow. For truth is the greatest weapon we have. The greatest weapon for our own divine nature. So our divine nature is who we were everywhere, all the time, all at once. That's us, all the time. I mean, I have to remember that myself if I visit my parents and I get a little, you know, Ram Dass also said, if you think you're enlightened, spend a week with your parents, because it just snaps you back into your, you know, like Jesus said, you're never a prophet in your own town. You're never a teacher in your town. You just go back to that old programming, because we're all trying to up-level our consciousness. That's why we're here. All these great teachers today, we have some amazing people, have really done the work to elevate us towards this conscious awareness that we are the divine aspect of this multiplicity of self. We really are. So we have to get over the programming. Part of the programming is we're at 5 years old, the left brain gets totally developed, ABC 1, 2, 3. This is what we're born with, this infinite imagination, and by the time we're 5, we learn to stop using that right part of our brain, which is the creative, intuitive part. You can take pictures of it. I got it from someplace else, so it's okay. But it's nothing wrong with counting and spelling and words, but don't lose this creative aspect, because William Blake said the imagination is the human being. You came in as creators to emulate creation as creators. That's why you incarnated into this form, to create. Whatever that creation is for you, whatever your artistic talent is, it could be dance, it could be singing, it could be teaching, it could be walking, it could be anything that inspires you for that divine aspect. That's why you incarnated, and to share it with the world. You know, sometimes you don't know what you're feeling until you actually hear a song and say, oh yeah, that's sad. I think I can feel that sadness I was feeling before that I wasn't in touch with. So we're here, and if enough of us can be creators, then we really transform 3D into 5D. And that's what I call the flowering of humanity, right? So we're outside the confinements of this limited culture, and we're tapping into the creative flow, and we're sharing it with each other so we can feel more of who we are as human beings. We're making known the unknown by creating. And the more you create and other people receive that, the more we expand the possibilities of humanity's evolution. So we have to get back to this form that Einstein was in touch with. He said, everything is energy. That's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you can't help but get that reality. This can be no other way. It's not philosophy, it's physics. So, you know, they say, if you want something, you're never going to get it, because you're only putting out want. If you feel as if you have, then it comes to you, because you're creating a vacuum where you're pulling it to you. That's the difference between wanting and having. A teacher I had says, if you want something, or if you want to have any of your possessions, say you have always been. I have always been an author of books. I have always been. So even if it's not true in this moment, declare it's always been, and you start to shift reality. This is what Joe Dispenza says in his work. Not to paraphrase Joe, he's a good friend, he's a good guy, and he's doing incredible work. But when you create the reality in here that's greater than the reality out there, it becomes manifested. And he does miracles in his classes, Joe Dispenza. Really recommend his classes. So this is where we are. Logic will get you from A to B, but imagination will get you everywhere else. Because that's the key. Imagination is more important than anything. It's more important than the answers. Asking the questions, you know. This is Quest into the Unknown. Who's that guy again? He was an old cartoon figure.
Natural.
Thank you, Mr. Natural. Yes, right. So here we are. It's time to tell a better story about the whole pantheon of the unknown. Their gods, the miracles, angels, demons, aliens, mysterious objects in the sky. That's Jeffrey Kreipel. It's time to tell a better story because this is the old story. The new story has yet to be written. It really has. The more real you get, the more unreal the world gets. John Lennon. Love John Lennon because he followed his inspiration. I mean, we would not have the joys of rock and roll and all that if it wasn't for that genius to come forward and say something else is possible. So I also love this. I'm certain that after the dust of centuries has passed over the cities, we too will be remembered not for our victories or defeats in battle and politics, but for our contribution to the human spirit. That's you being the creative force in the world. Whatever that is, maybe your creativity is building businesses. Maybe it's, you know, it could just be meditating on the mountains here. I mean, there's no limit to the creative flow of what's possible. And when that's happened, the world is full of magical things patiently waiting for your senses to grow sharper. So as we become these great beings of knowledge, art, creativity, imagination, that is the evolutionary impulse. That's why you incarnated here. And it's hardwired into us to be connected to creation as it pours through you. Like this moment is actually pouring through you. If you just are present in this moment, creation is pouring through you. Just take a moment and feel that. Just let your mind open up and let creation flow through you. And lean into it. Lean into it. Just open up that crown chakra and let that come right into you. And breathe it in. That's it. That's your destiny, right? That's where we're going. Since everything is natural answers to our moral power, if any phenomena remains dark and brute, it's that the corresponding faculty in the observer is not yet active. So somebody will see auric fields, you say, what are you talking about? And that's because this consciousness, this brain, this hardware needs to have a new application of consciousness. So, yes, some people see auras, right? Because that's what they are. But if you don't see it, it's not that they are crazy, it's that we have not yet opened that application. Like those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who couldn't hear the music, right? It's like that. So our challenge, and this quote I really love, we must accept our reality as vastly as we possibly can. Everything, even the unprecedented, must be possible in it. That's why when an ET appears in front of you, they're not there to scare you. They're there because they want to wake you up. They're just different, and they're vibrating at a different frequency, and that's what really freaks people out, because their consciousness is at a higher level. So our individual egoic sense of self starts to get wiped out by the presence of these beings. But if you tap into the God force, they are equal to you. They are. They may be smarter, they may be vibrating different, but their essence is the same as ours. Their sentience is the same as ours. So this power to face the most unusual is the only courage that is required of us. The courage to face the strangest, most unusual, most inexplicable experience that can meet us. And then when we do that, we ascend into the fifth dimension. We meet these beings on an even playing field. They're not superior. Yes, they're gonna maybe help us with their technology if we don't use it for war. They will wake us up. Imagine having free energy. That will really allow all of us to be the artists of our creation. If you don't have to be enslaved to make energy, to work for energy and all that, put food on your family, then you are all free to be the creative God that you came into being, right? So, did I show this? No, I saw it. But yes, this is the problem. This guy is yelling at the bartender saying, hey pal, you have no idea who I think I am. So it's like, we're not our story. I mean, you all know this. You're not your name, you're not your history. You are the infinite essence of forever. That is the thing that you are, really. This is you. This is your hardware. This brain is your hardware sitting in this infinity of creation. So that's the hardware, and your personality is the software, right? So if you have a computer, you have hardware and software, right? What do you need to operate the computer? Energy. What's that? Energy. Yeah, you need energy, but if you don't, you need one more thing. If you have a computer with hardware and software, you need one more.
Update interface.
You actually need the operator of the computer. It'll just sit there. That operator is consciousness. Without consciousness, it's just the body, hardware, software, it doesn't do anything. Consciousness is that universal factor. This is my interpretation of this machinery. And then we bring that infinite nature in here, but we can also stay with the 5D world. You know, when we define ourselves without regard to the internal presence out of which the universe unfolds, and when you continue to play out the variations of historical themes and keep our eternal spirit at a distance by imagining greater beings than us, then the illusions of the material silence the awareness of spirit. So that's Ken Carey. He's such a genius, you know. So, you know, when you think that's all you are is 3D, but I actually think most people live in the 4D world. They live in their emotional reality. Forces that are intended to connect experience to the physical atomic structure now bind us and limit our perception. This is the emotionality. This is the drama. Then the future becomes limited. Our vision of the infinite creation is consumed beneath the emotional mists of excessive subjectivity. The emotionality of indulgent thoughts define ourselves without reference to the source. So we get limited by the emotionality of our consciousness, right? And we need to be emotional feeling. We need to have that emotion in order to ascend out of it. You need to own the human experience. So you need to feel everything, but don't get indulgent in it. So you just, you need to have all the activities, all the emotionality of the human experience, love and hate, jealousy, anger, but all you have to do is have it really once in order to own it. You go deep into that feeling, and that's why we incarnated, for those limited experiences, because then we'll know what this person feels like. We can't put into words. He's actually having a hard time. This is like one of those, I think this is from the Dust Bowl. But we can look at each other and feel them. And we can look at everyone and feel who they are because we've been that. Maybe not this position, but we felt who they are. We felt that sense of being. And when you own the human experience, then the cellular structure in your body starts to vibrate at a quicker rate. The biophotonic potential, the light within each cell, starts to be activated because you have compassion for everyone, young and old, rich and poor. Everyone you meet becomes the reflection of your divine self. And when you could see everyone and you just have compassion for who they are because you've been that in all these lifetimes that you have, then we start to amplify the molecular vibration of the body. We start to expand the awareness. When we live in the awareness of the life force, we're no longer defined by the static images of yesterday's history and the ongoing participation of history. When we know ourselves as agents of forever with this great purpose of being, then we bring joy. That's the key. The joy. The joy is who you are beyond all the illusions of the self. That is the key to our next level. Joy. Can you close your eyes and just feel there's no yesterday, no today, no tomorrow. It's just joy. It's just the sun radiating through you. Just send that joy out to everyone you're sitting next to, everyone around, everyone at this conference. Send that joy out because that's the essence of ourselves. That is who we are. This joyful being. And just breathe that in, yes. That's the key. Yes. I'm just going to go. the second part. A time will come when people will sit with history before them or some old newspaper before them and ask incredulously, was there ever such a world? That's the new world we're building. When people will say, really? Did they really let people starve in the street and have homeless? I mean, how is that possible, you know? But we are here because we're shifting that reality by feeling each other, you know, by sending the power of this consciousness to each other. You know, this brain is also a sender and receiver. That's the application of consciousness. It's not Deepak, everything's consciousness, that's great, you're a great guy, but how do we send and receive it? It's an application, it's an consciousness. It's who we are, of course, but it's an application of being that can control time and space, like the Mayans pointed to. They really can. Or create these great imaginational books. I got a really good one for you here, where Alice in Wonderland is talking to Dorothy of Oz, saying, I've seen some weird shit. You know, that's a bunch of great girls, I'll tell you that much. Right, because this is the mind of consciousness. This is the point of being consciousness. Imagination, it is the amazing aspect of who we are. So we have this map of consciousness. This is from the Ramtha school, where, yes, we descended from the absolute into density, and that's duplicated in the chakras in the body, but it's also duplicated in the brain itself. You know, there's the lower cerebellum, which is the reptilian brain, and there's the neocortex frontal lobe, which is the new brain, the God brain. Right? So, and I'm going to show you a picture of another brain here. Look at the brain of the dolphin, the brain of the human. Now, who looks like they have the smarter brain? Right? We don't have to go out in space to find intelligent beings. They're right here under our feet in the oceans, and it's really amazing to swim with dolphins. The word dolphin, Delphi, means brother or womb. They are, and they will protect people from sharks and things like that. So we have to understand this mechanism of our brain, but you know, within that the reason dolphins are the same as us because they're sentient like ours. So we have this left and right brain. Now we've just developed this left brain, which controls the right side of the body, of course, because it switches. But the right brain is the perceptions of patterns. So the left brain is logic, the right brain are patterns. So we see the world first as patterns, right? Look at this auditorium, you see the patterns of chairs. And this is how you start to cognize things, to see the patterns. So you see the patterns there, right? And you turn that around. Patterns are everywhere. Patterns are how we see the world first, and then we try to make sense of it. But the old logic, the real logic of perception is pattern perception. So pattern perception is also, so the left brain sees linear, like the left brain sees the trees, the right brain sees the forest. But we have to be whole brain creatures, but we have to realize that we are these right brain creative parts of us. So like this, the left brain really wants to make sense of this and what's going on, how many legs does this elephant have. The right brain just doesn't care, right? So a little test of your left and right brain. I want you to say the words before you try to say the color. So say the color to yourself before you say the word. See if you can do that. And just see how your mind wants to trip you up a little because you see how much your left brain's... You can do it, right? But it takes a little bit of effort because by the time we're 5, we've been programmed to read, write, count, which is fine, but your right brain needs to be included. So like, this is another thing. Are we looking down at the chessboard or up at the chessboard? Your left brain can't understand how that's even possible, but your right brain says, sure, we can look up at the chessboard and down the chessboard at the same time. Why not? That's who we are, because we are this infinite being of creation. So the right brain is your internet, right? It's your intuitive part. It's what allows you to remote view. Your left brain, like, so if I told you I have this computer and someone would say, yeah, and all the information I ever have on my computer, something programmed there, and someone else comes along and says, you know what, I have information on my computer that wasn't programmed there, you would think that's impossible if you didn't know there was an internet. So we have this internet connection to the everywhere, all at once, all the time. That's the right brain. That's the creative brain that's flowing through us every minute. Creativity, imagination, this moment is flowing. The present moment is right here in your right brain. You know, it's the left brain that makes sense, past or future, but the right brain is present. Like that, there's that great talk on TED Talk by Jill Bolte Taylor. Has anyone seen that, where she became just a total right brain being, and she said she was the infinity of space, and she forgot who she was, you know, as a left brain being. You should look it up. It's called, what's that called, that talk? Stroke of genius, I think, because she lost her right or left brain. So what is it that we are? So this is like this power of creation that is coming through us all the time, this infinite source, flooding us with new ideas, new possibilities, right? So this is the frontal lobes there, the midsection where emotionality is, the reptilian. It's very simple understanding of the brain. I know it's a lot more complex. The lower cerebellum, where the animal instincts are. But the idea is this. This here is one way to create reality. This is your pituitary, sort of sits right behind the skull there, right behind the bones of the skull. And the pineal is right in the center of the brain. That's the pituitary. Pineal, the eye of Horus was about activating the third eye. So if we want to create something, you hold it in this neocortex. This is where the future comes into you. So close your eyes and think of something you want to create in your life. Imagine it. We're going to do this 3 times. Hold it in that eye, right there, that third eye that's right between your two. Hold the image of what you want to create for a moment. And breathe it in. And hold it for a second. Leave that. Now reform it. Form it again, what you want to create in your life. For you, the world, hold it there. Or just for you. Hold that image. And breathe it in. And hold it for a second. Now breathe it out. Good. Now one more time. It gets a little fuzzy, but hold that image again. Hold it. And hold it in that third eye, mind's eye. And breathe it in. And hold it. Hold it. Hold it for a second. Hold it. And breathe out. And see it go, and so be it. You just created reality there. You just manifested as the divinity, your creation in the world. This is what Michelangelo was doing. That's your God coming out of that neocortex, pituitary gland there, and giving birth to your creation. That's what he remote viewed. That does look like a brain, doesn't it? That look, I don't know where he came up with that idea, but that's your divinity coming out of the pituitary, and that you've just sent it out into the quantum field to become reality. So when it comes back to you, whatever you just manifested, acknowledge that you did that. Take that in. Give yourself some credit. It's like it shows up, and maybe not the form, this is what Joe's, that you put it out there with, but it shows up in a way where you recognize it as your creation. You can recognize it because you just cognized it there. So you recognize it, but not necessarily exactly, but sort of that and even more. So accept it when your divine creation comes back to you because you just gave birth to it. You just formed it. And this has been the ancient traditions of like activating the pituitary pineal from the Babylonians, you know, and the Assyrians and the Egyptians, right? All that, they did all that by activating the God consciousness within them. That's the idea. That's what we're here for, activating our divinity of awareness. So That's the program of getting back from descending to evolving back, so activating this whole circuitry right there in the brain, and that's what I call the snake biting its tail. So when this neocortex connects with the lower cerebellum, so the God part connects with the reptilian animal part, that's what I call awakening to the divine consciousness within, because then you become the manifester of the 3, 4, 5D reality, because now you've become completed the circuitry, left and right brain, frontal lobes, lower cerebellum, and you just light up with the divine creation, become this all-wise knowing intelligence. You see the higher realms, you know, and then you see past, present, and future all at once. Then you start to this ascension back up the ladder, the Jacob's ladder, whatever you want to call it, back to the divine. But we are actually well on the way. All those awful lifetimes, and maybe beautiful lifetimes. I think my last lifetime was in a picnic in the concentration camps of World War II. I still had memories of that. I had to work that through. I had to go back because that was like carrying stuff there. It's like every time I would see a movie about World War II, it's just like, be so emotional. But I did a past life regression where I actually relived that, and that wasn't really fun, and then it also freed me because it was no longer being controlled by the past that was not even conscious, but was working on a soul level to remind me that that I've experienced those levels of, you know, the human dimension. And then when I did this past life regression, I felt like in that life in between, these star beings really greeted me, this is just what I felt, and said, okay, now it's going to be fun. That was the hard work. Now you're really going to have fun. And we're having fun, right? So at least I am. So that's the thing. And then, you know, I've just gone around the world meeting everyone I wanted to meet and just learning as much as I can. This is Aquarius, 1 degree Aquarius, and just opening our my mind to new possibilities. And I met this guy, John Mack. You know John Mack? He's actually in my book here. He has a chapter from, he's no longer with us, but I found an unpublished chapter of his, and he said this: we are dealing with a phenomenon, a UFO phenomenon, which violates our sense of reality, which operates in the gray area between the physical world and subjective world, where we're already beyond that. We're being asked to prove this method by physical science alone, but those methods, in his view, will not yield its secrets until we discover other ways of knowing. Other ways of knowing is everything I've been talking about, the intuitive mind. This intuitive mind, like looking inside consciousness is like looking for consciousness in the brain, which I just said. We're everywhere all the time, all at once, you know. We are these beings of light. This is what, and who are coming to meet us in these etheric form. I mean, they may not look exactly like this, but, you know, but these energy, we are energy, not matter. Yes, we have these material bodies, but what is animating that body is this energy. And so when you can start to know that, you can glow with the emanations of creation, right? We start to glow, we start to ignite. People have a Kundalini awakenings, and I've seen this, I've had it myself, where the energy just shoots up the spine. That's the divine energy activating consciousness. It comes down through us. It's like emanates right through. So there's the pituitary gland, and there's the pineal gland, which is connected to the all-wise knowing intelligence that we are. And when you can start to bring that through and come down and pull it, feel it coming down, and also feel the energy coming up, you're activating the pineal pituitary system. And that is what we're here to do. We're here to experience this level. This is just one representation. So the guy whoever created man, woman, it was in that state of bliss. If you see that, if you mirror that, then you're starting to encode that Buddha consciousness, Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call it, into your system. We're starting to think differently. We're starting to see the world symbolically as opposed to literally. We start to apprehend reality, think more abstractly than concretely. You know, quantum physics says if you don't collapse the wave function, how much time do we have? We good? No more time? That's it? That was it? Wow, we really did collapse time. Okay. I'll just end with some of my favorite ETs here. These are multiple dimensionals of reality here, and we are the source of all creation. That's the infinite cause coming through us. We're here to break out of this limited show. We are these divine beings here. This is a picture. When I asked to see what Ascension looked like, I thought it would come to me in a vision. It came to me like this picture of Alex Gray. When the energy comes up from the earth and descends from the sky and you activate the chakras and you start spinning, your body starts to vibrate as light frequency, like that. You start to turn your body into light. This is the Sedona Ascension Retreat. That's our destiny. That's who we are, you know? What lies behind us, what lies before us is little matters, lies within us. We might be the ETs we're looking for. So thank you very much.